subscribe. Subscribe to my guy, Uncle D. Tell him Big Bass sent you.
Dennis Quillen. I'm an attorney here in Houston, Texas, an advocate for black men, largely because I am a black man. I'm a black father, I have black sons. Hey man, I do what I do.
What's up, everybody? My name is Dennis Sterling. I'd like to welcome you to the broadcast. As you guys know, I'm an attorney. And I know we're live, and I'm going to tell you now, I'm not going to be here that long, but I do want to talk to you all about fix my collar. That's what I need to do. Let me make this collar looking fly. Hold on a minute. Can't be out here looking less than I need to be. But anyway, I have a quick conversation I want to have with you all, and specifically, I want to talk about the rise of Black America, Black America's voice, Black America basically lashing out against Black immigrants, Latino immigrants, Asian immigrants, white nationalists. Anybody can get it at this point. And it's going to require that I kind of go back a little bit. Let's talk about the early 1980s and 1990s. You had a lot of black men who were, well, let me skip ahead and say this. We're protecting our reputation. And for years, beginning in the early 1980s and 1990s, you had a lot of these talk shows that would basically have black women come on and excoriate black men. They would literally get on there and say horrible things about black men. We were deadbeat dads, we weren't involved, we were abusive, all these horrible things. And that laid the groundwork, that villainization of black men by our own women laid the groundwork for the mass incarceration. And a lot of people don't realize that. Once the first step in warfare is to villainize the other side. And so you had a whole group of people, our own women specifically, who would get on TV day in and day out, talk horrible about black men. So at the point when they began to round us up in 1994 and 1995, with the onset of the three strikes laws, there was no sympathy. Because remember, at that point, we were deadbeat dads, we were thugs, we were criminals, and nobody felt sorry for us. So now here we are, fast forward, you know, there's been a lot of undercurrent of animosity coming from black immigrants, Latin immigrants. We know that they have a whole cultural fixture called that is called Mejor la Raza and Blanqueamiento, and I'm talking about the Latin immigrants. That basically is anti-black racism, where they practice dating and marrying and interbreeding with lighter and lighter, often European mates. So embedded in that is anti-black racism. So there's that set. But then you also have black immigrants who come from the Caribbean, who come from different countries in Africa, and they have these predetermined ideas and stereotypes about black Americans. And when they come to this country, they still harbor those feelings. Keeping in mind, I want you all to keep in mind that but for the efforts of foundational black Americans, or the American Negro, or the freedmen, or colored people, which is what they used to call us back in the day. Negro was another term. But for our efforts, these people would have not even been able to allow to come here. In fact, women, white women, wouldn't even have their right to vote, but for black men. And I say all this to say, foundational black Americans, or as I said, freedmen, free people of color, the American Negro, we're fed up of it. Because see, again, when we allow these people come to our shores and villainize us and say bad things about us, there are people out there, the white supremacists will take, or people who just want a leg up. They will take the very words that the people who appear to be black, like us, say. They will take the words of our very own black women. They will take the words of these other immigrants, be they Latino, Asian, African, or otherwise, and they will use that to target us. So when you see Black Americans lashing out against these immigrants and anybody else, then it is a matter of life or death for us. And so a lot of folks don't understand why Black Americans, why we're delineating. We cannot unify with a group of people who are castigating us and talking reckless about us. Let me give you a parable. If you see your friend standing with your enemy, know that you have two enemies, okay? And this is a heavy statement, but it's honest and it's truthful, and there's wisdom in it. If you see your friend standing with your enemy, then know that you have two enemies. So if I have a brother from the Caribbean or a sister from Africa who constantly spews this horrible rhetoric about us as Black American men, understand that, and not just Black American men, but also Black American women. And I'm going to get to the specific aspect of Black men and Black women in a minute, because there's a caveat in there that I don't think a lot of people understand. But when we talk about the fact that now you have these people who are in their rhetoric sound like white supremacists, you in effect are standing next to the white supremacists. So if you're a Caribbean man or a Caribbean woman, whatever island you're from, irrespective of colonialism, and this also goes for the African men and women, irrespective of colonialism, if you sound like a white supremacist, then you're the enemy. And see, I don't think that Black Caribbeans and Black Africans are used to that. They don't understand that now Black Americans see them as enemies, which is because you're making our lives hard. These white folk will use this to incarcerate us. And guess who is the first? Who's the first group of people to bear the blunt of a racially charged environment? We saw it happen after the Civil War ended, during Reconstruction, and especially after Reconstruction with that 100 years of Jim Crow. We saw it happening in the prison industrial complex when they began to mass incarcerate a certain group of people. And as you guessed, that certain group of people is Black men. We bear the brunt of that. And so as a Black man myself, as a father of Black men, it is absolutely necessary that I and most other Black men with good sense, foundational Black men, step up and say, hey, no, we're going to end this. Anybody who disparages the name of Black men is literally putting our life in danger. Now, unlike Jamaicans and Haitians and Ghanaians and Nigerians, we don't have anywhere else to run back to. And you all have already proved that you will leave when things get tumultuous. You've already proved, because you left your own countries. We know that you will actually get up and leave. You've proven that. So what that means is you all can literally help create a mess that we have to stay here and clean up. Now, generationally speaking, you know, my family has been in this country for hundreds of years. You know, technically, and this is, you know, I found out recently that my biological father was a man from the Caribbean. And so it's not that I have any animosity towards Caribbean people or African people or in general, but what I do know is that I am a foundational Black American. Nationality is American. Ethnically, or I'm Black. But culturally, I'm FBA. So that puts me in the target package for these white nationalists who will do horrible things to us, who will come up with laws, who will target us and destroy us. On top of that, when they talk about Black men, nobody is specifically distinguishing, oh, well, we're not talking about Black American men. No, we're talking about Black Caribbean men. For instance, the gentleman who was a superintendent, who apparently did whatever he did and overstayed his visa, and apparently there's something going on with his credentials, his educational credentials and degrees. I'm not sure. I'm not abreast of that totally, but the man is from Guyana. Nobody is saying, oh, this is a man from Guyana. They see an image of a black man, and those people don't necessarily announce, especially after their wrongdoing, they don't announce their nationality. Everybody simply lumps them into the category of Black American. So at this point, it's necessary for us to delineate. Okay, it's necessary for us to delineate, because you can't take your good doings and your successes and then put your flags up and say, oh, look, this young person got invited to attend or accepted to attend 12 of the Ivy League colleges. The flags come out then. But then when somebody gets caught for embezzlement or some other horrible crime, guess what happens? They keep the flags down. So that crime or that bad practice or wrongdoing gets bundled in with the rest of the wrongdoings that Black Americans have done. So, or generally speaking, as a Black American, so we have a problem with that. That's why we're delineating. Now, I want to kind of talk about the issue between Black men and Black women. First of all, understand that we've existed in this country for 400 years. And for the most part, we had a code. We didn't really put our business in the street. Whatever was going on in the Black household really was not something for public purview. And so all of a sudden in the 1980s, folks popped up. You had Black women popping up on television, and they start talking reckless about Black men. Now, again, I want you to understand who Black men are. We are the only men on this planet who refer to our women as queens, Black queens. We whether she's a crack fiend, she's still a Black queen, is said by the famous rap artist Tupac Shakur. So we've always uplifted our women. We've always protected our women. I recall when I was young, my grandmother, who you see over my left shoulder, when they were in Mississippi, they sent all their daughters to Chicago. They sent all the little girls to Chicago. When they came of age, they sent them away from Mississippi because at that time period, white men could literally have their way with Black women, and it wasn't safe. So at the point where she became a woman of age, they sent them away just so they could be safe. And they would sacrifice the best interests of the boys. The boys would literally have to stay there in the fields and keep working. And so we've always protected our women. That's why you got a lot of preachers and a lot of teachers at all these teacher schools, so Black women could use their education and their mind to escape the oppression of the Jim Crow South. So we've always been that sort of men. So imagine in the 1980s and 1990s, you got all these women who literally came out of nowhere saying horrible things about Black men that weren't true. And time has shown that the vast majority of these myths that were made up, even Oprah Winfrey had to recant the fact that she said that Black men were deadbeats, dads, and she said that for years on her television show. It just turns out not to be true. And she actually went on the internet and recanted that amongst a group of Black men. But the bottom line is we have to ask ourselves, what effect did that cause? And I kind of alluded to the fact that, after they laid the groundwork that we were these villainous creatures, these thugs, these criminals, these deadbeat daddies, and our women didn't even like us. What came up after that was what? The war on us, the war on drugs, which the mass incarceration of Black men, the school to prison pipeline filled with Black boys, and we still haven't recovered from that. So the question you have to ask yourself is, where these women come from? And in that regard, I go to the 1965 immigration bill. Now, there's always been Caribbeans and Africans in this country, but before 1965, there was only 50,000 Africans born in Africa in the United States. That is amazing when you consider the fact that now, and of course it was Caribbeans, but now one quarter of the population of people who are in the United States of African descent are either first generation or second generation Africans or Caribbeans. So that tells you there's been a phenomenal increase in their appearance in the population in what we call the collective Black community. And so that being the case, you know, we have to ask ourselves, what changes have they brought with them? Now, I personally know that there's a lot of DV and there's a lot of cheating and there's a lot of men in the Caribbean, and it's just part of the culture. They have multiple women, multiple families, et cetera, et cetera. And they also, when you look at some of the hip hop, look at the hip hop, look at the strain of hip hop created by the Nicki Minaj's and the Cardi B's and the Lukes and the Biggie Smalls and all these different rappers. They brought their culture with them in the music, and it has a lot of sexuality and degeneracy in it, as we would say. And so now we're in a situation where we have to ask ourselves, well, what do they bring? I truly believe that those shows that were filmed by Oprah and Sally Jesse Raphael and Dr. Phil and Donahue and Montel Williams, a lot of those people who were participating, especially those women, were women of Caribbean descent. I truly believe that. And I believe that they brought with them their intra-racial, misandrist hostility towards the Black men, their Black fathers in the Caribbean, and their Black fathers and brothers and boyfriends, that they had their experiences, and they put that forth and just made it seem like it was all Black men. Because again, when I look at the stats in the 1970s, there was a stat to show that Black men were suffered more DV than Black women. This is what I'm saying. And normally it had to do with some sort of use of a pew, so to speak. So what I'm saying, what I'm trying to explain to you all is, we've already seen the effects of what Caribbean women who are confused or intermixed or believed to be foundational Black, we've already seen the damage they've done. Those talk shows and based on the places where they were filmed, based on what we know about their culture, based on the fact that we didn't have these problems amongst the Black community, we didn't have this sort of division before 1965. It was after 1965 when we had this influx of all these Black immigrants who came to this country, and they brought their problems with them from their country. And I'm not saying that they haven't contributed at all. That is not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, when you look at what happened after 1965 all the way through the 1980s, you look at the increase in crime, you look at the increase in DV, the increase in all these out of wedlock births, you have to ask yourself, well, what happened in 1965? That immigration law passed. And that immigration law opened the floodgate for all these immigrants and all these folk to come in. And not only did they bring with them their culture, the good aspects, but they also they didn't just bring jerk chicken and oxtails with them, okay? They also brought the high DV rate. They also brought the promiscuousness that comes from many of those island nations. And, you know, and it's been dumped into the Black community, Black population. We were the most church going group of people. And we still attend church more than other groups, but that is depreciated. And where did they go? They went to the big cities. They went to these major Democratic enclaves. And look how these places have deteriorated. Okay. Black Americans don't sell drugs. Let me say it like this. We don't not sell it. We do some of that, unfortunately, but we don't grow it. It's not germane to the countries of origin. We're not bringing it up here. You know, who's bringing it up here? You have to look at the Latinos. You have to look at the African immigrants, not at the Black immigrants who come to this country. That's what they do there. Okay. So again, I'm just telling you, I'm laying the foundation to explain that there's already been damage caused by the influx of immigrants to this country who pose as foundational Black Americans. And then on top of that, I'm not even talking about the set-asides and government subsidies and scholarships that they receive while posing as African American or posing as Black American, which they are technically, Okay, but that's another reason why we have to delineate. But at this particular point, I'm just focused on the beefing between Black American and immigrants, because we're tired of you all opening the door for these white nationalists to use the rhetoric that you all spew, which really should be directed to yourselves. And then they're putting it on us. And as far as Black men and Black women, remember, ladies, when you talk bad about Black men, these white nationalists and these publications pick it up and they use that. Okay. And guess who's the first people to suffer? Look, Trey Reed, the young brother down in Mississippi. They're not lynching Black girls, they're lynching Black boys, but and Black men. But the truth is, you all make vulnerable targets too, and they're going after y'all also. But the bottom line is, we're the first target. Okay. And so what I'm trying to explain to all the immigrants, I don't have any control over what the Latinos do, but we'll deal with them. But as far as the Black immigrants, you all need to shut up with the rhetoric. And I say that in my most sincerest term. You are making it harder for us to live. You are making it more difficult for us. You are making our lives harder when you spew that rhetoric. The reason I used to counter some of the negative narratives put by Black women on my page as an advocate for Black men is because it was necessary. You can't just keep blaming Black men for the out of wedlock birth rate when you're laying down with the same group of men and having children who are irresponsible. You can't keep blaming Black men for the crime in the community when you decided to have a child, especially a boy child, and didn't decide to give that child to his father to be raised, or at least pick a man who's more responsible, or better yet, don't have children until you actually have a man that's responsible. You can't keep shifting the blame. Again, there's enough blame to go around, but the pushback that you saw from Black men 5, 10, 15 years ago is because we finally had a bullhorn, and that was the internet. Remember, before that, Black women and everybody else had all these national talk shows. They had CNN, but it was only after the rise of social media that Black men were able to get a voice. And so I position myself as an advocate for Black American men, largely self-preservation, because I am a Black American man. I have Black American sons, and it is in my best interest to protect our image and push back. Now, unfortunately, because of the damage that has been done, we are all now under attack because of this racially charged environment. And irrespective of your vote, doesn't matter to me who you voted for, okay? But the bottom line is, family, we're all under attack, so it's important for me to broaden my scope of protection, because at this point, we're all in the same boat together. It would be great to be able to say, hey, you know what? Black Africans, Black Caribbeans, y'all come on in too, but not until you all stop that negative talk about foundational Black Americans. You are in our country. You are here under the umbrella of our safety, and you're going to have to do things the way we say do it. The reason we've survived in this country, the reason we didn't fold like so many of you all did in your own country and run up out of there, is because we know what we're doing. And the first thing you have to do is begin to stop talking negatively about Black Americans. Stop saying we don't have culture. Stop saying we're violent. Stop saying we're ignorant, because when you point a finger, then two get pointed back at you. And that's what you see happening right now. Either way, this is Dennis. I'm going to be back. We're going to talk about this issue and the dangers of quote unquote free speech. Free speech ain't free. Sometimes you have to have discernment and know when to shut your mouth. Okay. This is Uncle D. I'll see you guys later. I'm out.
Dennis Sperling.
In the city where the lights don't sleep, Uncle D got the vibe so deep. Representing men strong and free. Dennis Sperling's the king of the spree. In the streets where the rhythm flows, Black men rising, that's how it goes. Uncle D got the truth to show. In his heart, that's where the fire glows. Late night tuning, light up the stream. voices whisper truth and insight. In his podcast, feel the light. Harmony in every word. Truth and laughter you've heard.
Well, that's all right.
Wave after wave of smooth delight. Dennis brings the dark to light. Share the tales unfold. Stories born like morning gold. Feeling the wisdom and subscribe and like time after
Black men, black men, black men, I want to salute you. Your incarceration rate is down, the education rate is up. We went from, we are doing great for ourselves. So you should salute yourself. Shout out to all the brothers out there, whether you're a truck driver or engineer, whether you're an electrician or garbage man, a doctor, a lawyer, if you a hard-working brother, if you fresh out the penitentiary, but you on your grind and you doing it legal and you trying to make amends for yourself, man, I salute you too, brothers. God bless you. This is Uncle D, and you know, I'm out.